O.J. Simpson, leading NFL player, started to appear in films. Life was looking good, but what could go wrong?
Okay, this is Interstate 5, and this is courtesy of KCALR, one of our LA affiliates. Police believe that O.J. Simpson is in that car.
911 emergency.
Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
Well, okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here?
Orenthal James Simpson, or what he's more famously known as O.J. Simpson, was born on the 9th of July 1947 in San Francisco. His parents were Jimmy Lee Simpson, a custodian and a cook, and Eunice Simpson, a nurse's aide. He suffered from rickets when he was 5, which gave O.J. a bow-legged stance. The condition did not stop him from developing into the athlete that he would notoriously become. Race was still a big issue in the 1960s, and when O.J. was growing up, one of the ways in which black people were able to go to school would be to demonstrate their skills as an athlete. O.J. was notorious for being in the gym and playing sports constantly. From high school, O.J. started playing football at a high level. However, he was the member of a street gang called the Persian Warriors. He was arrested 3 times during his teenage years, and the last time was in 1964. After his final arrest, Simpson met Willie Mays, San Francisco Giants star. He changed O.J.'s life by allowing O.J. to hang out with him for the day and encourage him to change his ways as he could see his potential. O.J. took this information on board and drastically changed his life. He attended the City College of San Francisco, and during this time he met his first wife, Marguerite Whitley, and they married in 1967. They would go on to have 3 children and lived happily for many years together. This is when O.J. started to gain a lot of popularity. When Simpson attended the University of Southern California, things really picked up.
Is inside the Trojan 15, O.J. Simpson.
He played football for the USC Trojans and won the Heisman Trophy in 1968. He played professionally as a running back in the NFL for 11 seasons, primarily with the Buffalo Bills.
Number 1 rusher, showing you why he has those staggering statistics.
He played for the Buffalo Bills between 1969 and 1977. This is where he set the record for the furthest distance covered in one game, 273 yards. He also played for the San Francisco 49ers for 1 year. In 1973, he became the first NFL player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in a season. He was unstoppable and at the top of his game. He still holds the record for the single-season yards per game average, which stands at 143.1. He was the only player to ever rush for over 2,000 yards in the 14-game regular NFL season. Simpson was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1983 and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1985.
When you're in another stadium, not your home stadium, and you hear the people cheer you and ask to see you, and you get all the nice letters and things that I've received over the last season, and especially the last couple of weeks, well, you know you've been appreciated, and I think everybody looks for that.
O.J. still owns 6 NFL records. He's most proud of the NFL's first and only 2,000-yard season in 1973.
After retiring from football, he began new careers in acting and football broadcasting.
I was worrying that my career would end on a fumble, but I was a little upset right when it happened because I almost broke it. I almost got outside on this guy, and that would have been real nice. But we got the first down, and I'm just glad the coach gave me an opportunity.
His acting career began while he was still a star running back. As Simpson told it, he was waiting out the best deal he could get in the NFL. When producers reached out to him asking if he could act, he said, "Sure, I can try." And thus his path to stardom began. His first major film was The Klansman in 1974, in which he appeared alongside Richard Burton and Lee Marvin, playing a man seeking to avenge his friend's death at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. Simpson became a part of a tradition of professional football players who forged second careers in Hollywood. Some of Simpson's most memorable roles came from during his football career, including appearances in the miniseries Roots, the disaster movie The Towering Inferno, and the space program thriller Capricorn 1.
This whole thing wide open, God knows what it might do to everybody.
As Simpson's football career wound down at the end of the 70s, he doubled down on acting. He formed his own production company, Orenthal Productions, and was involved in a number of made-for-television movies starring Simpson. It was at this point he met the German beauty, Nicole Brown. Nicole Brown was born in Frankfurt, West Germany on May 19, 1959. Her German mother, Juditha, had met her husband Louis while he was stationed there as a correspondent for the American Armed Forces. The couple initially set up a life in Frankfurt, but the family moved to the United States, settling in a home in Garden Grove, California. Brown had no problem adjusting to the California life. The blonde beauty gravitated towards the beach as a young teen and was named Homecoming Princess at her high school. Nicole was a party animal when she turned 18, and while working at the Beverly Hills nightclub, Brown met her future husband, Simpson. She was 18 at the time and he was 30. Simpson would go on to divorce Whitley to marry the blonde bombshell. Both were infatuated with each other and seemed to be the perfect match. A fairy tale ending, but the story is only just getting started. Unfortunately, after 7 years, they divorced in 1992. Brown won a $433,000 cash settlement, $10,000 per month in child support. And that was it. They both moved on with their lives and never spoke again. Unfortunately, life doesn't always work out like that. Newly single and on her own, Brown relished in her new life. Armed with her settlement, she zipped around Brentwood in a Ferrari and often went out dancing with friends, though she remained devoted to her kids. However, a seemingly paranoid Simpson was known to follow her, reportedly even hiding out in the bushes of her front yard. Brown would even disclose to her family and friends that she was scared and that he would follow her to gas stations. Friends and family became worried based off of the known rocky relationship that Simpson and Brown had. There were multiple accounts of abuse that occurred within the relationship, let alone after. The couple attempted to reconcile, though by the late spring of 1994, Brown told friends that she was ending the on-again, off-again relationship.
Good evening. Cynthia has the night off. Former football great O.J.Simpson questioned for 3 hours tonight after his ex-wife and another man are found stabbed to death in Los Angeles.
In the early morning hours of June 13, 1994, Brown and her friend, waiter and model Goldman, were found stabbed to death outside of her Los Angeles condo. Both were killed while the former couple's 2 children slept upstairs. Police found Brown and Goldman's bodies just after midnight on June 13th. Their bodies lay in the narrow passageway that stretched between Brown's front steps and the front gate.
The details in the coroner's autopsy report were even more disturbing. According to the report, her attacker stabbed her 7 times in the scalp and neck. Cuts on her hands indicated that she had tried to fight back against her killer. The largest wound on her body was a gruesome slash across her throat that was over 5 inches long. The cut severed the carotid arteries on both sides of her neck as well as her jugular veins. It was so deep that the knife left a mark on one of her vertebrae.
And so, all hell broke loose. After police identified Nicole Brown, they drove to Simpson's estate to notify him of his ex-wife's death. However, upon arrival, they noticed blood smears on Simpson's vehicle, and during a search, a bloody glove was found at the property. Simpson had conveniently boarded a late flight to Chicago that night and was not home. 5 days later, the police pursued Simpson down the LA freeway.
At this moment, a car chase is going on.
We now go to a special report.
I'm Peter Jennings at ABC News headquarters. Let's immediately go to a picture in Los Angeles. We're interrupting 2020.
And every single television network
we are looking at pictures of Al Cowling's cars
is fixated on a single image.
Down there on the ground is a white Ford Bronco.
Dozens of police cars are in pursuit.
In the number 3 lane at approximately 30 miles an hour.
An armada of news choppers broadcasting live to 95 million people.
It ended at Simpson's home in Brentwood, California, where he was placed under arrest and taken into custody. Simpson's trial was one of the most notorious criminal trials in American history. Simpson was formally arraigned on July 22, 1994, entering a plea of not guilty. The trial began on January 24, 1995. The attorneys representing Simpson, known as the Dream Team, included F. Lee Bailey, Robert Blazier, Sean Chapman Holley, Robert Shapiro, Alan Dershowitz, and Robert Kardashian. Later, Simpson's longtime friend Johnny Cochran became the defense team's lead attorney. The prosecution consisted of Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden. The prosecution first set the scene of Simpson's abusive nature by showing pictures of Nicole when she was abused in the relationship. This allowed them to build up a picture of what O.J.'s evil side was like. Next, they played a 911 call of Nicole being scared of Simpson and saying he was going to beat her up. This call was carried out 6 months before her death.
911 emergency.
Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
Well, okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J.Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here?
Okay, what is he doing there?
He just drove up again.
He just drove up
over?
Okay, wait a minute. What kind of car is he in?
He's in a white Bronco, but first of all, he broke the back door down to get in.
Okay, wait a minute. What's your name?
Nicole Simpson.
Okay, it's in the police. What is he doing? Is he threatening you?
I'm going nuts. You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to come in again.
Okay, just stay on the line.
I don't want to stay on the line. He's going to beat the shit out of me.
Wait a minute. Wait, just stay on the line so we can know what's going on until the police get there, okay?
Close my door. He broke the whole back door in. Okay, the kids are sleeping.
Blood was probably the prosecution's largest piece of evidence. Simpson's blood was on the driveway, in his Bronco, and he also had a freshly cut finger the day after the murder.
That Mr. Simpson told him that he had cut himself on the evening of June 12th, I believe, and that he had gone into the Bronco searching for his cellular phone. This was his testimony. And with a small cut on the side of his finger, and had blood within the Bronco. He's familiar with that testimony.
There was also a pair of socks at O.J.'s house with Nicole's blood on them, and both Simpson's and Goldman's blood were found in the Bronco.
Namely, that those DQ alpha results were consistent with a mixture of Mr. Simpson and Mr. Goldman.
Okay.
What are we talking about when we're saying it's exactly the same area?
I didn't say exactly the same. Same general area?
Same general area. The finding of that pattern in the console lane is consistent with a mixture of the banding pattern of the defendant, Mr. Simpson, and also the contribution from Mr. Goldman.
Could you...
According to reports, the size of shoe that was found at the crime scene was a size 12. O.J. also wore a size 12, as you can see from the image above.
There are new photos shown to the jury today that made a plaintiff's attorney put his foot down about charges of fakery. The shots of O.J. in Bruno Mali's shoes come from a different photographer, not Harry Skull, whose very similar picture the defense labeled a fraud. Experts say the bloody shoe prints outside Nicole's condo were made by Bruno Mali's, but O.J. Simpson has denied wearing that rare brand, despite what the pictures appear to show. But the defense's photo analyst, Robert Groden, testified that the new pictures appear to be as phony as skull shot. Groden, I believe to an overwhelming degree of certainty that these are fake.
Fibre evidence was found in the Bronco, which was from the gloves used. The left glove was found at Nicole's residence, and the right glove was found at O.J.'s, both size XL. The defence pointed their fingers to the police. They stated that the crime scene was contaminated multiple times during the course of the investigation.
They took a blanket and they put it over the bodies and they brought hairs and fibers all across that scene, when obviously some of the key pieces of evidence in the case might come down to hairs and fibers. Where did they come from?
They also stated that the blood was mishandled.
Chief criminalist Dennis Fung had relied primarily on swabbing the blood at the murder scene and transferring it to cotton swatches. The swatches were supposed to be dried, then wrapped in cloth bindles for transfer to the lab. But several of the bindles were blood-stained, proving the swatches were wet when placed inside. That could encourage bacterial contamination.
Finally, many members of the Los Angeles Police Department were racist, particularly Mark Furman, a detective who the defense argued planted the bloody leather glove at Simpson's home. Which leads to their main and most notorious piece of evidence, the gloves. The defense stated that the gloves presented as evidence did not fit Mr. Simpson, and as seen in this video, he tried on the gloves for the entire courtroom. There was some speculation that potentially the gloves may have shrunk due to the amount of blood they were soaked in. However, this piece of evidence remains in the minds of millions and is still debated to this day. The trial was watched by millions over many months and was concerned quite a lot with race, given that both of the victims were white and the alleged killer was black. On October 2nd, 1995, the jury finally began deliberating and reached a verdict in less than 4 hours.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in Count 1 of the information. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Ronald Lyle Goldman, a human being, as charged in Count 2 of the information. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, further find the special circumstance that the defendant Orenthal James Simpson has in this case been convicted of at least one crime of murder of the first degree and one or more crimes of murder of the first or second degree to be not true.
After the verdict, polls of public opinion continued to break down along racial lines.
And not convict on a reasonable doubt. You have to have good, solid evidence to make a conviction.
I'm relieved for him. I'm happy for him. You know, not just because he's black, but wrong is wrong and right is right.
Justice didn't prevail. Scheming and lying prevailed. That's what prevailed. There's nothing remotely close to justice here. There's 2 dead people, and there's no one in jail for it. And the reason there's no one in jail for it is because he was just found not guilty.
God will give him what's coming to him, though, because that's the deal. The guy upstairs knows what happened.
That's the deal, and that's the bottom line. Vindication will always come in the end. Whether it's served in the court or out of the court, justice will be served.
Although Simpson was acquitted in the criminal case, he was also sued by the victims' families for wrongful death, and the civil trial began in October 1996. Less than 4 months later, the jury found him responsible for the deaths and awarded their families $33.5 million in damages. But at least O.J. could put that time behind him to rest and live his life in peace. This man just didn't know when to quit. On the night of September 13th, 2007, a group of men led by Simpson entered a room in the Palace Station Hotel. Alfred Beardsley, a memorabilia dealer, contacted Tom Riccio, another memorabilia dealer, regarding a trove of O.J. Simpson items Beardsley had in Las Vegas. Riccio informed Simpson of the items, claiming that they were stolen, so they set to get them back. Bruce Fromong testified that the group broke into his hotel room and stole memorabilia at gunpoint.
First I'm thinking, this is a robbery. And then the last guy in, naturally, was O.J.
O.J. Simpson came to the Palace Station Hotel Casino. Fromong and Simpson were once friends and partners in the sports memorabilia business. He sold photos that Simpson signed.
The misconception is, this is stolen memorabilia. It's not stolen memorabilia. I have acquired all this stuff legally.
Did you feel like you were being held captive in that room, that you couldn't leave?
Absolutely, there was a gun there.
So when they said kidnapping, you would agree with that?
Absolutely.
3 days later, on September 16th, Simpson was arrested and initially held without bail. He admitted taking the items which he said had been stolen, but denied breaking into the room. Simpson also denied the allegation that he or the people he was with carried weapons. Bail was later set at $125,000. On October 3, 2008, exactly 13 years after he was acquitted for the murders of his ex-wife, Simpson was found guilty of all 12 charges.
First-degree kidnapping with use of a deadly weapon, a fixed term of 15 years, parole eligibility beginning after 5 years.
The 61-year-old Football Hall of Famer was sentenced Friday to at least 15 years. Simpson's co-defendant and former golfing buddy, Clarence C.J. Stewart, was also sentenced to at least 15 years.
On July 20th, 2017, Simpson was granted parole and was freed 3 months later.
Hard for the last 5 hours, so how do I know how it feels to be out? And, hey man, look, I've been in nowhere USA for the last 9 years doing nothing. Nothing has changed in my life. What do you expect?
This just hours after Simpson walked out of Lovelock Correctional Center under the cover of darkness. Nevada's Department of Corrections, which released this video and photo, kept the time and location of his release a secret.
His problematic history never put a damper on his life of luxury. As he succumbed to cancer, he was holed up in a £1.4 million luxury 5-bedroom house where he has lived since being released from prison in 2017. Shunned by celebrity pals after being cleared of double murder, Simpson found solace in the home of close friend James Barnett. The pair met when wealthy businessman Barnett hired him for a motivational speech decades ago. He lived on an $8,000 a month pension from the NFL and was said to be making cash signing sports memorabilia at around $350 a pop. He spent most of his time catching up on all the golf he missed out on in prison. He did not keep a low profile, however. One of the last photos of Simpson was taken last month and showed him using a cane to walk after being diagnosed with prostate cancer. Unfortunately, Simpson died of cancer at the age of 76 on Wednesday the 10th of April at his home in Las Vegas. His family are arranging his funeral, which will be televised. And there are rumours that the funeral might include some familiar sights. A life full of successes and failures, filled with drama and what seemed like a never-ending roller coaster, has now come to an end. What do you think of O.J. Simpson and his life? Do you think he was guilty or not guilty? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Till our next story.